Call this listening session to order. All right. I don't know what the normal mayor says, but I think we'll go ahead and just get started. I see that I have Sally Ness already on the agenda. So if you want to come down and sign in, and I see two other folks that are here. Would you also like to address the council?
And there's another name on the.
Is there?
on the sheet. Yep. About Sally.
Oh, that's, oh, okay.
You can pull up a chair right there and then sign in your name and.
I mean, if Sally told me ahead of time, she probably.
There were two. Yeah, I didn't see that. And that, yeah, we'll let those two go for, if you want, since you're already up here, why don't you have a seat? We'll let you go next to that, Sally.
Want to talk to her about, okay, minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes. So we'll give you 10 minutes. We'll give each person here 10 minutes. And you'll probably want to leave some time if you want to have the council respond to have that dialogue, because we can't do that outside of it because we've got three folks here today.
I thought it was a listening session, so,
Either way, we can just listen too.
but it's all good. It's all
either way.
fabulous. So who's the clock keeper?
Keep it there for you.
Are you Matthew?
Yes.
Oh, fabulous. Nice to meet you. So my name's, I'm sorry, let me start all over again. Good evening. To all the esteemed members of the council, can I stand or do you prefer I sit? I'll sit.
Whatever you prefer.
Oh, sure.
Okay. So hi, my name's Annette Robinson. Some of you may recognize me as a graduate of the Bloomington Leadership Program. I'm also on the board of the League, excuse me, of Women Voters. But tonight I'm here as the daughter of Alan and Annabelle Matsky, my parents who have been residents of Bloomington for 61 years. That's the hat that I'm wearing. I wish Lona was here. She's not. So they are residents at 8413 Cal, District 3, I believe. They built their home there 61 years ago. Bloomington back then was considered the sticks by all practical purposes. They raised 4 children. They take pride in their family, their home, and being a part of the Bloomington community. So why am I here telling you all of this? I want to share with you the impact. Hi,
Sorry to be late.
District 3.
Yes.
Great.
We were with another resident. Apologies. Thank you.
No problem.
You
So
talking about Fire Station 4?
I am,
Yes,
yes.
that's
So
right.
please feel free to join us at the table. Anyway, so I just want to share with you tonight the impact of Fire Station number 4 on their lives and the community and what's taking place. My little background, my father's an engineer. My mother was a housewife. They built their home. They designed and built the backyard. We had the screened in porch. We had the pool. We had the hot tub. We had the ice skating rink, right? We had all of that growing up in Bloomington. They have beautiful gardens. They take great pride is what I'm trying to convey in their home, their yard, their community. In the early 1970s, I can't remember exactly when, but the OG Fire Station number 4 was proposed and built, and it was part of the community. The neighbors were all recruited to be firefighters. It was volunteer. Remember the days? The building that they put in was fairly unobtrusive. From their backyard, you really couldn't see it. There were beautiful trees. Okay, there were cottonwoods. Maybe they weren't that beautiful, but they were pretty. It kind of, and it dampened, it kind of camouflaged, it dampened the noise, if you will. And I just felt like it was kind of cool to have a fire station in our backyard as kids, right? We could hear in the summer with the windows open, our neighbors who were volunteers, you'd hear it go up, the radio go off, and you could see them running up the street, and we'd go watch the trucks roll, and it was a cool thing. So fast forward to today and Fire Station number 4. I did send photos. Did you all get an opportunity?
Yes.
Well, humor me anyway, because I printed these and it cost, it was a lot of ink. So just pass them around. They're different. There's 1 through 7. But this is views from their backyard and what this fire station looks like today. The raising and building of this station has been very different from the OG. And of course, I have a different lens than what they do as adults, what I saw as a kid versus today. But I have to say that I have been disappointed and disheartened in the process. And I think there's hopefully an opportunity to learn from it and a different path forward. And I want to start just with the communication, once again, from my lens. I felt that there were opportunities for us to be informed on the project, but not necessarily listened to about our concerns with the project. And the concerns and issues brought forth were really just kind of, and my parents as octogenarians, actually Dad's 90 now, I think they realized quickly that they and a few handful of neighbors were going to be the sacrificial lambs, right? They really weren't going to have much to say. It's, sacrificing a few for the greater good of the many. That's a tough place to be in, but they're part of the silent generation, right? They're like, we'll see how this goes. I remember the last meeting, and I can't remember if you were there. We were in the old fire station, the city planner. I don't know if you were there. I can't remember the people, the architects were there, and they told us about the building and how great it was going to be. We raised our concerns, and I heard it was 2 stories. 2 stories. There's going to be a fence. It'll pretty much camouflage and block the view unless the fence is 30 feet high along the property line. I don't know how, in fact, that's going to happen. A lot of things that were told to us, I haven't quite seen that coming into fruition, if you will. Let me just tell you, my parents' summer and what it's been like. Dad's 90. So he's not very mobile anymore. Loves to be outside in the summer. He takes his walker and he goes from the inside of the house out to the deck. He loves to sit in his chair. He loves to listen to his classical music, have conversations. The cacophony of construction noise has been beyond having the ability to have a conversation. It starts at 7 a.m., it goes to 7 p.m. They work hard. These workers work really, really hard. But it's really impacted the quality of life for my parents. When you layer on top of that, literally the sandstorm of dust. I'm not a builder. I don't know what they're doing with these concrete blocks and cutting them, but honestly, it could be a scene from Lawrence of Arabia. It's covered everything. It's covered the houses. It's clogged the pool. It's just been a real, I think nuisance is like an understatement of a word, but it's been a very challenging summer for them. So they've had to run their AC full time because you have to shut the noise out somehow, at least during the week. And I think the hardest part is watching as this building's being built, the market value of their house is going down because let's be honest, you've seen the pictures. Would you move there? Would you want to live there? You don't want to live there. I don't want to live there. And so it's really hard for me to watch that, right? Given all of the history. So, okay, I don't know how much time I have left. The ask.
How much time does she have left?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Oh, great. I would like to find a way to do right by my parents and the handful of neighbors in their neighborhood that have been impacted. I have ideas. I think there's ways forward that could maybe make them feel like the city of Bloomington cares about them and they're still valued citizens and that they weren't the sacrificial lambs in this whole process. I also think there's some thought that could be given to a stipend or something that would allow for them to maybe do a little landscaping and give some camouflage to what is going to be part of their lives for however long they're alive and they stay there. So those are a couple ideas I have. You and I need to talk. I do recognize that. But I want to thank you for listening and I hope that I've been heard. May I?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Thank you for that. You're not the first person that's brought this to, and you may be, I don't know if the people that I've heard from and the people that you talk to are the same or not. And specifically the person I spoke to for a while was asked to remain anonymous, so I didn't want to be disclosing of that. But there's another piece of this that I have communicated with the city manager as well, which is, this isn't the last one of these that we're going to do either.
Yeah.
And all of them, aside from fire station number 1, the other three that we have to do are very tight and they're very close knit in the community. And so this impact will happen again. You know, one of the asks I made of the city manager was, could the planners look at, you know, turning the building or doing something else so that the highest walls are on the street as opposed to up against the residents, you know, other things like that. And so there's a learning both in the short term, meaning what can we do from a landscaping perspective and everything for that fire station to support some of the asks? And there's a longer term question we need to ask about these other fire stations to either be proactive about the minimization or be proactive about the support we give to the neighbors. So absolutely agree with you and very happy to meet with the community. So let's get the team together. Let's do
Yes,
that.
thank
So
you.
I'll send- I'll give you
I'm
my
happy
card.
to hear that.
Yeah.
And once again,
I see that Chief Seal is here. I'm not sure if you want to make any comments briefly at all.
Just here to listen, take notes. I think it'd be better if
you know, one thing I think that would have been nice was a continued communication process by whether it's a construction team housing themselves at Wanda Miller and just having like a monthly, hey, this is where we're at. This is how things are going. How are they going for you? Like, how bad is the noise level? Like maybe we stop later or start later or stop earlier. I mean, just so they feel like they're heard and they, you know, I think there's a lot of ways that this could be done differently. And I appreciate that you're open to listening.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and hopefully making some.
Yeah,
changes.
like I said, we're not the next one.
Here,
Yeah.
we've got two other folks. I move this along.
Oh,
You know, and if you stick around a minute,
am I going to see you tomorrow night?
Yes,
Good.
probably.
Okay,
Have you-
sorry.
okay? And if you're around, I'll just want to check with you, Ms. Robinson, about a couple of your comments, make sure I got them right when I say them back to the council tonight, okay? If you're sticking around, I'll check in with you at the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you're sticking around. If not, don't worry about it. I got you. Yep. Sally,
Aye.
please.
Okay, last meeting after I spoke, Councilmember Sean Nelson asked the driveway when it goes to the parking lot, that's Smith Park. I replied, yes, but Councilmember Nelson commented, that's all I want to know. That is a problem, that the council member is not wanting to know all of the information. Yes, the entrance goes to Smith Park, but it was not built for Smith Park. It was built to address the intense traffic and parking generated by Darrell Farouk, and also so that the private business Success Academy, who leases from Darrell Farouk, can expand. Just because Darrell Farouk generates too much traffic and parking, and that the private business Success Academy wants to expand, does not mean the city should be paying for an entrance Darrell Farouk and the private business Success Academy need. Staff report 2018-226 dated August 23rd, 2018, that included a driveway as a condition states, all mitigation measures identified in the staff report must be constructed and/or funded prior to any increase in weekday school enrollment. Does not state the city will provide funding. As I stated last week, the city did not need a new entrance to the park. The city wanted to keep the former entrance and paid to get an easement that should have been provided after DAF purchased the property from the power company. At the last meeting, I said the city had an entrance the city designed. I should have been more specific that the city designed the park and chose south of the gymnasium as the location for the Smith Park entrance. There is no data to suggest the city wanted or needed a new entrance or a new location for the park entrance. Last meeting, Councilmember Coulter commented, what I've been hearing you over these weeks is that you want the council to have accurate information. And what I'm not understanding still is who decides what is or is not accurate information. To answer that question, I sent the council two examples. In 2012, the former city attorney stated that Hyder Aziz probably did not represent the building. He signed the application for the conditional use permit. He was listed as the applicant. He also signed the amended and restated site development agreement. Does a person who signs the application for the conditional use permit, is listed as the applicant, and also signs the amended and restated site development agreement represent the building? If the answer is yes, then the former city attorney provided council with inaccurate information. In 2015, did staff provide council with a memo that indicated access easement over 8201 property to city parking lot that stated current agreement not provided and proposed agreement provided? Did the agreement effective at the time state regardless of which party, the city or Lutheran High School, acquires the NSP right-of-way property, the owner shall provide an easement for $1 to effectuate the usage agreement as detailed in this agreement. Was there an easement drafted in 2011? If the answers above are yes, then staff provided council with inaccurate information. At the last meeting, I provided an example of council voting on inaccurate information when council was inaccurately informed that the shared agreement in effect at the time did not provide an easement for the entrance when it did. This is not an opinion, and the data decides what is or is not accurate information. Mayor's previous comment, you believe they should have done one thing. Obviously, the staff, the council, the mayor, and the legal team did what they believed was correct. The concern is council making decisions based on inaccurate information, such as being told the previous agreement did not provide an easement when it did. The point, yes, the council did what they believed was correct, but it was based on inaccurate information. September 22nd, 2022, I sent mayor and council an email titled September 2018, planner inaccurately states northerly lot underutilized. Council was inaccurately informed the northerly lot is underutilized, and that is information council uses to determine how they vote. I have pictures of the planner at Smith Park, and the entrances to DAF were blocked off with cones. And there were only 4 parking spaces available in the Smith Park parking lot, which is a non-exclusive use said to be needed occasionally, yet filled every Friday, negatively impacting the park and use of the park. Council also voted after hearing the mayor inaccurately state, and I even happened to have the ability to have conversations with Xcel Energy. There's not a record of this conversation at all. There is no data to support there was ever a conversation. After the hearing was closed, in addition to the mayor offering to pay for the driveway Darfur Success Academy needed, the mayor offered the public Smith Park playground to the private business Success Academy. The mayor chose to ignore a recommendation by the Planning Commission requiring the applicants provide their own playground. The mayor states, rough transcription, I agree with some of the speakers this evening that maybe putting them in playground might be something that would be overkill or really unnecessary. I think the school utilizing the playground in the park would work just fine. Maybe times when some of the neighborhood people want to use it at the same time, but to interact and use it with the recess kids. The mayor comments about the neighborhood interacting with the recess kids does not recognize that school-age kids pose a danger to those who are younger. An older child using the apparatus at the same time as a younger child can cause the younger child to lose balance and fall. A preschool child can climb the chain and disc ladders and navigate the curved walkway and the many openings, but not when there are active school-age children nearby. The mayor chose not to recognize the danger posed to preschool children who try to navigate the playground used by school-age children, regardless that other organizations do. The Minnesota Safety Council states play areas for different age groups should be separated. The Minnesota County's Intergovernmental Trust areas for preschool age children should be separate from areas intended for school-age children. The Public Playground Safety Handbook, a school on the other hand, may have no children under age 4 attending. The council did not hear this information at the hearing because residents did not know the mayor was going to offer the public playground to the private business Success Academy until after the hearing was closed to the public. The mayor provided an opinion, and unfortunately council voted to support an opinion and not the recommendations of the Planning Commission or the guidance of other state organizations.
Question.
Get started. How much time do we have left?
A little over 3 minutes.
Please, Councilwoman.
Thanks, Acting Mayor. So I think there's a nugget in there that's kind of interesting, which is, and maybe something for consideration since we have Smith Park as one of the parks we're looking at, if there is a general rule, and I don't know the answer to this, that there should be separate areas for preschool children, like accessible for preschool children, like equipment changes or additions or whatever, to accommodate varying age groups. I mean, that seems like something that might be worth considering when we know that playground will be something that will continue to need to accommodate school age children as well as kids who are not in school age. So that might be something to put on the Smith Park list, right? So thanks for that. I hadn't really ever heard of that. So that's very cool. Question for you. That was a school before, correct? Lutheran school, is that right? Did the school age kids that were at that school use that playground as well?
It was 9 through 12.
9 through 12, so it would imply.
And then
Excellent.
not, I don't know if you know, but Darrell Fruit did end up building their own playground.
There's one behind the school now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But would it be true still, maybe you know this or not, that the playground that exists at Smith Park doesn't have preschool age equipment?
It does have, you can tell the one side is for the lower and one side's for older. But when the 30 kids came out of the
Yeah,
playground,
yeah,
they didn't stick to one or the
Yeah,
other, and you wouldn't expect them to.
Right.
I mean, the children were being appropriate students.
right.
It was inappropriate, in my opinion, in his opinion, that the mayor offered the playground after the hearing was closed. So there was no conversation. There was no conversation before it was voted on, and there was no conversation.
I understand.
I mean, just came out of left field and it was voted on. And again, it's part of the inaccurate information. It's, and there are some here on the council that voted 2018. And, that very difficult. And that's the point of this, listen.
Appreciate that. Councilmember Nelson, probably have to be the last
What's
person
that
to
time?
comment.
Quick thing after Sean.
If we have time.
First of all, it was not my recollection that we gave the park to the facility. We removed the requirement for them to build their own park. It's a completely different thing in my mind. I don't know if that's your recollection or not. So we did not give that to them. That's inaccurate information that you provided. Two, I asked a simple yes or no question without any commentary or anything else. The fact is Ms. Ness, you have done that multiple times with this council, including complex legal questions about what constitutes fraud, and have come back repeatedly saying, I just want a yes or no question, even after it was asked. The fact is the answer to the question I asked is yes. It goes to the Smith Park parking lot. That is where it goes. The recommendation of the traffic engineers, Bolton and Menk, was that regardless of the expansion of the school, that we should change that, regardless of that.
Not we, Darrell Fruit.
No.
It
should be changed. And it was a
Darrell Fruit should change it. That is,
opinion.
no, it's their staff report, and you're telling them the problem that they're having with their building.
It was probably not the best decision to have a shared one in the first place. We addressed that. You may disagree with it, but we addressed it.
And then the playground, they were using the playground.
As kids do, and
No.
every other playground near a school in this city, we pay half of. And our kids throughout the community can't use it during the day by rule at the city, at the
It's
school.
an agreement. So that's another difficulty I have is often people bring up Cedar Valley. Cedar Valley, that
That's your point here, but
Cedar Valley, that entire property is Cedar Valley. The city needed a park, and Cedar Valley and the city built that park together with conditions. We did the same thing with the field. Behind Darrell Fruit is a field. We did the same thing. We built that together. The playground, it's our property. We built it. And all of a sudden, they were using it. There's no shared agreement on it. There was no liability insurance on it. There was none of the particulars. You're talking about other public schools, our municipalities. Yes, we work with our municipalities, our Bloomington schools. Yes, we work with them. Same thing,
We pay towards
we
it.
need to
We can't.
cut the conversation off right here. We've got another person and maybe there's a possibility we might have a little extra time at the end, but if not, we'll have to hold those questions until we get together.
Can I just make a very, very brief comment? I just want to address something that has come up now, and that is that the idea that things would change after the public comment period is closed. That happens frequently in the work that the city council does on ordinances, on development plans, on all kinds of things, that we make changes to conditions, we make changes to ordinances. That's just the nature of the process. So I just want to be clear that while it may not be ideal and it does not always give the public the opportunity to comment on the final product, that is a very, very frequent thing that occurs. So I just wanted to clarify.
And I'll,
Got five.
5 minutes. All right. So hopefully we can get this done in 5 minutes here. Apologize for the,
I think I can go fairly quickly.
thank you.
So first of all, I want to say thank you, Lana, for the,
Lona, yeah.
Lona,
Norris?
Ms. Delasanto.
Oh, you can just call me Lona. It's totally
So
cool.
Lona, thank you for, I know you asked for the resignation of the city manager on the Artistry Board due to that financial,
I asked for the ex officio member.
Ex
to replace
officio
The finance
to be
person.
replaced with the finance. Did that happen?
I don't have,
We don't know
have an update yet. I
We have a
haven't
city
gotten it.
manager update from that at all? So I just want to thank you
Mike?
for that.
There's no update yet.
Okay, with it. So the financial oversight is kind of why I'm here to talk tonight. So I understand, Nathan, you've been on the artistry board for
Since February, it's about.
since February, 8 months or so. I've sat on boards, before, committees, boards and whatnot, and usually on a board, there's always some type of treasury or some type of report or some type of financial health of a given organization. When you started your 8 months ago, did you see a treasury report or did you know that the artistry was in some kind of financial straits, or was this?
So by the time that I started on the board, that was sort of when it initially became more challenging for artistry to get the financial information. And by the time when I was on the board, that information was coming forward, then it became clear that the financial difficulties that artistry was in.
So how long did you know that this artistry was in some financial straits here, some trouble? I mean, the
And
story
as-
came out.
I mean, this has been something that the artistry board has been aware of for some time.
Right. So then, so you did know they were in trouble, like,
Well, Mr. Thule, maybe you didn't have an opportunity to watch the presentation, but the bookkeeper had passed away, is my understanding, in January.
right.
He joined the board, I think it was February.
Yeah. And is there any city oversight? I mean, I know you asked for, in the artistry whatsoever.
It's a separate.
It's just a separate
nonprofit.
board,
Yeah.
given,
It's a separate board with, again, the two ex officio
Yep.
members, but it's not
and,
a city organization.
It's a separate nonprofit organization.
The only connection is obviously the agreement to run the box office and things like that on behalf for the city and its
Okay.
other, members. And then they go through a grant process like all the other artists do and have gotten, what was it, 50,000, I think this past year, for example, in grant funds, like same as, cantati, same as the ballet, same as all the other, the symphony, they all go through that process.
so a grant funding,
Right.
so, but
Yeah.
there is no, I mean, a grant fund would be essentially like, I saw you guys gave away 150,000, a grant out of the strategic priorities fund. Is that true?
Yeah, that's correct.
So that, my concern, and I know you expressed it too, but our taxes went up, putting 600,000 worth of strategic priorities funding, so you guys have given them some money, 150,000 that came out of the strategic priorities funding, right? And that,
Out of the 600,000.
well, is out of a strategic priorities fund. So who pays for the strategic priorities fund? Is that coming out of our tax dollars? Like when you guys fund for strategic priorities, that increases our taxes essentially, right?
In the past.
Yeah. So, because I
Not-
know last time we put 600,000 into we raised taxes 2.75 in the last one.
That is
We put
not in the budget
600,000.
at this point.
No,
to do
that's not in the
that.
budget.
Essentially, what it seems to be doing is limiting our authority. We're choosing to use it for that instead of other things
Well,
we had.
you're funding art essentially.
Yes.
Yeah,
You're just giving them a little gift. And I like how you said the oversight, for the 350. There's an additional 350 of loans.
Well,
And you
potentially,
put,
we haven't
I hope
gotten the
there's some
terms.
stipulations in place because there has to be some watch on this.
Yeah.
Obviously, if
And
it's-
that'll be on the agenda.
If you go back on and watch the meeting, I think every single one of us asked for business plans, financial management plans,
Yeah.
like, I don't think anybody up here said that we were interested in
right.
additional funding.
Well,
We actually could have approved that extra 350 that night, but nobody
Yeah.
was comfortable doing
but
it.
you gave them a gift, 150. Right,
Gave them a,
150,000.
hey, we're gonna let you guys live long enough to provide us.
Well, they got to pay for people, obviously, right? Out of that fund.
A lot of it was actually
Do they-
back pay,
Do
frankly.
they rent space over here from you guys? I mean, the art, is it like I know water department is an enterprise fund. Is the art department, does it?
it's
Separate
not a
organization.
city fund at all.
It's not a city fund.
Separate nonprofit.
Well, to be fair, to your point, though, the arts, the facility is in Park and Rec. In their,
Housed under Park and Rec.
yeah, the Center for the Arts
Artistry
is,
is
artistry is separate.
Yes.
Right, it's
So-
a separate department, so yeah.
It's not a separate department. It's a separate nonprofit.
So
It's not a city
So-
department at all.
So we are at time.
there's the Center for the
Um,
Arts.
Can I get your guys' permission to go an additional, let's say, 4 more minutes? So any objection? 4 more minutes.
Yeah, anyway, no, the 150,000, that is essentially taxpayer money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's my concern, like art, I want to see it more like enterprise and there has to be some oversight, like you said. Very, very big concern, and it sounds like you knew about some of the stuff and every board I've sat on, like I said, you and the city manager have sat on this board for a long time. Every board that I've sat on, I kind of know the financial health of those organizations and I would have said something.
So I want to be clear, again, the extent to which artistry experience, and again, I've taken responsibility that the board, for varying reasons, some of which were entirely out of the board's control, but the board didn't have the information it needed. But that information was late in coming. And by the time that information came forward from the auditors, from including a bookkeeper who, like we said, had passed away, it became clear the extent to which artistry was experiencing these
You
difficulties.
guys meet like once a month.
We meet quarterly.
Okay.
The artistry board meets quarterly, and then that was a change right after I started.
Right. Where I work, if we lose a bookkeeper though, we try to replace it right away.
Yeah,
That just-
and we did, and that was something that the executive director at the time attempted to do.
Right. Well, all I could say is there needs to be a better job done, and nobody asked for your resignation, but I'm going to ask for it, It's every board that I've sat on, there's been an oversight for it, right?
Mhm.
So I'm going to ask for your resignation.
Okay.
You asked for the city manager's resignation. I'm a resident asking for your resignation because I think it's
Okay.
poor.
Okay,
And I know you apologize, right? But this is our tax dollars that went to artistry that should not have. And I'm going to be very direct with you guys here.
okay.
A lot of people are hot about this.
Mhm.
So you're suggesting that the $150,000 shouldn't have been
Allocate.
allocated. So just to be very clear, Dwayne didn't vote for it and neither did Tim. So it was a 5-2. Is that right? Or did
Yeah.
I have that right?
Yes.
So
Yep.
it's 5-2. So
Yep.
so you don't be mad at Tim or Dwayne.
No.
They agreed with you.
Pass the other way.
No, they agreed. It did, yes, but they didn't agree with it. So because I was super harsh on that in that meeting, but also voted for it, I'll explain to you why I did. Not that you asked, but here's the thing. I know you think it's about art, but we were helping them pay bills to people that had already done work. And that includes people that like you would probably have some respect for, meaning like, these are people who do woodworking to do construction of set designs, right? People who do lighting, who are electrical people who do lighting, right, for our sets. I mean, these are tradespeople.
Yep.
And there were artists there too, but there were tradespeople and there were, and then there were certainly people who were making barely minimum wage doing like, the ticket taking and stuff like that. Call it what you will, but this strategic priorities fund, I have, it was money we could use to help people who deserve to get paid. And I'll just explain it to you that way. And I don't want to speak for anybody else in terms of why they chose to vote.
1 minute remains here, so.
Yeah,
Well, people,
But if that helps, maybe,
people work, they got to get paid. I mean, I get.
and that's where that money went.
Yeah. People work, they got to get paid. I mean, that's a flat out. But bottom line, if I got a checkbook, right, and I'm managing that checkbook, like I said, there needs to be a better job done on these boards. If other boards are running like this, I hope they're not. Don't throw it out there and say, here you
A couple
go.
of corporate boards that run like this.
Right, right.
So all that to say, stay tuned for when the terms that we're going to consider for the next, if we decide to move forward with that 350, because as we sat there for an hour and a half coming up with our laundry list of here's the 1,000 things we need to see, that's going to come back before us. And there's a chance we might still say no and they're done.
Right.
And again, I just want to make sure we're just clear, and for people who might listen to this later on, we have the Center for the Arts in Bloomington, which is like the facility. And then we have several arts organizations that rent space from us.
22 of them, I think.
22, including the artistry. So again, separate nonprofit organization that
Yes.
rents space
Right.
in the Center for
And
the Arts.
appoints their own board members.
So I want to thank the council and I want to thank our listeners here, folks who came in to present for us. I need a motion to adjourn.
So, second.
Yeah, second.
A motion in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Annie.
Opposed? Motion carries.